Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar. It is the June webinar titled Digital Strategies for Localized Lead Generation. My name is Ryan Birch. I'm the Managing Director here at CYBA. Really excited about the webinar today, talking about localized lead gen. So we'll jump into the agenda here in just a moment. But first, I wanted to just remind you that you can always connect with us on Twitter. We are at CYBA Inc. We're also using probably a pretty common hashtag of lead gen. So keep an eye on that. We'll be live tweeting this event. You can also use the question panel within GoToWebinar if you do have any questions. And just a quick reminder, we are recording the webinar today just to use for future training, but also to send out to some of our great customers as well. So with that, I wanted to, first of all, just introduce the experts. So while I'm moderating, the experts today are Chelsea and Robin. Chelsea Clement is on our team here in Phoenix. She's a senior digital account manager and has a ton of experience in lead generation, both at the national and local level. So I'm very excited to have her join us. So hello, Chelsea.
Hi, Ryan. Thanks for having me.
Okay, great. And we also have Robin Grunland, the Associate VP of Marketing and Creative at Middlebury College. She's been there 4 years. I know that most of her time is spent building and rebuilding the lead generation campaigns at Middlebury College. So very excited to have Robin today. So Robin, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, very good. Well, let's jump into the agenda. And as I mentioned, we've got a ton of information to cover. We're going to start by defining lead generation. We're going to go through the new buying process, the internet age, talk about different media types, drill into some landing page optimization techniques, and talk a little bit about retargeting, how to think about scoring prospects. So lots and lots of info to cover. But let's start at the very top of the agenda, as we should, and talk about defining lead generation. I think that it's something that a lot of brands talk about, but it might be a little bit of a kind of a fuzzy term. So maybe you can help us out, Chelsea. How do your customers talk about lead gen, and how do we talk about lead gen back to them?
Yeah, so lead generation is how a brand turns customer awareness into conversion and sales. The lead gen is a tool for defining who your best leads are, understanding where they are in the lead generation process, and outlining how your business will move leads down the funnel and have them come out at the end as a paying customer. Another key point on this slide is quality. Now, what type of lead or prospect creates the most return on investment, and how can you convert these prospects with qualified information? Your business, your brand should have total control of the messaging, and you should work tirelessly to deliver it to your ideal prospect. And Brian, lead generation is not only direct response, it's about controlling the content and who you're targeting for your brand. Lastly, I want to point out that this removes barriers for both sales and marketing. You want to align efforts between the two departments, and you can measure results to tie back who is an ideal customer and what the total cost is to sustain that lead.
Okay, yeah, and very common scenario here where the lead generation from the marketing team is actually getting kicked over to the sales team. Robin, I wanted to ask you about that for a second. So you're the Associate Vice President of Marketing and Creative. Does the sales group sit under your umbrella, or is that a separate team? How does that relationship work over there at your organization?
Yes, they are actually a separate team. Marketing is located in our Vermont office campus, and our recruiters, we have a whole team of recruiters for our graduate school that are out in Monterey, California. And we are responsible in the marketing office to generate qualified leads. They come in through an online form, and we are using a marketing automation and customer relationship management tool. So they're automatically entered into that tool and assigned to a recruiter who walks through a couple different steps in contacting them, either through email and or the telephone.
Okay, so really, there's this, this kind of dual roles of the marketing team and the recruiting team. So, the better you guys are at passing those qualified individuals into the recruiter's queue, the better, the more success they're going to have, right?
Right, yeah. My job really in our department is top of the funnel, trying to bring people in as inquiries, and we track the number of inquiries and also the sources of those inquiries.
Okay, very good. And I think that that's probably a really common scenario that a lot of the folks listening today have. But it's, even though it's common, the way about going about getting those inquiries in is probably changed or adjusted. There's a great quote on the screen right now. It says, "The abundance of information readily available online has led to the rise of the self-directed buyer." And this is a quote from Marketo, which I thought was really good. And maybe, Chelsea, you could talk to us just for a moment about this change in marketing and the way that people have to go about marketing.
Yeah, Ryan, it's true. I mean, marketing has changed due to the access of information we have. Buyers have moved from more of a passive environment to an active environment in the digital world. Access to information gives buyers the ability to research any information possible about their consumer. This means that advertisers must now utilize a more targeted concept to control what information prospects receive from them. If you're an advertiser, this can be a huge advantage, especially if you can align your messaging to the active researcher. And then, I will point out too, it's very important that marketers adapt to this change quickly if you haven't, and use personalized content, local targeting, and brand awareness in order to retrieve and convert relevant customers.
Right. Okay. So when I think of this graph on the left side, you've got the blue bars talking about more mass marketing, not one-to-one messaging, and the red is kind of the new world, where you're able to actually get in and target. Is that kind of what you're referencing here?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. And Robin, I guess question for you, the mass market approach versus getting down to a one-to-one basis. Is that something you guys think about or not as much? I mean, how do you guys kind of feel about this new world? I mean, is that something that's on your radar screen?
Definitely. We are not only developing ad campaigns for specific, what we market are graduate degrees. So we have very specific campaigns that are very targeted with imagery and specific relevant terminology for that audience that is looking for that graduate degree. We also do local targeting. A number of our students come from California, and we have done campaigns that are very targeted to California. So yes, we're doing a combination of all of those things.
Okay. Yeah, and I know that just higher education in general, this aspect of researching and actively seeking out very specific programs has really heightened. I mean, even just the niche programs that are available today, and I know you guys have a very specific audience, right, Robin? So you guys may even feel that even more so than some of the other, bigger institutions that are trying to do this.
Yeah, it is a very specific audience. I mean, most of the students that attend our school speak a second language, and so our programs are not for everybody. I mean, that's a very positive thing because we can be very targeted, but also it causes us to be pretty niche in our marketing.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. And if you listen to another big player, so Marketo is one large player in the lead gen space. The other one's HubSpot. They've created this term inbound lead gen or inbound marketing. What does that mean, Chelsea? Can we talk about inbound for a second?
Yeah, so inbound lead gen is it's the process of helping potential customers find your business. In other words, like content marketing is just as important as direct response marketing. I think the two tie very well together, and it creates lead generation as a whole. Here are a few marketing channels utilized to create awareness for the brand. First, website build and design. I mean, the functionality and what you have on your website as far as content goes is very key. Focusing on more of a personalized approach for the prospect, sharing value on what products or services, or in Robin's case, programs that you offer. Blog posts, localizing that content too for the active researcher. Prospects, they want to first learn before they make an active buy or request information. And then SEO, it ties in well with this too because it's all content. Businesses need to be found by the consumer, and it's not vice versa anymore. And then social media, it's a platform that's definitely ramping up. It's been in a great marketing effort for a few years now. And organic content, sponsored content, I mean, these all portray a business very well, and it's very digestible to the consumer. You need to be found there as well.
And Robin, I know we've talked a little bit about, some of your content strategies and, some of the things you're trying to do with the website. How are you thinking about content? How are you thinking about, I guess some of these things I would say are almost foundational to any marketing campaign, but you have to have these things in place for any lead gen program as well, right?
Yeah, we have been focusing first and foremost in making sure our website functions properly. It's mobile optimized and easy to navigate. Then secondarily, we have been spending more time. In fact, we just did 2 hours of training yesterday for our team on SEO and content marketing, content strategy, content calendar development. It is a process, I have to say. We have a number of writers and individuals on our team who are thinking about content, but truly understanding content marketing and operationalizing it, putting the right resources in place and the structure in place is, if you're not already structured that way, it's a bit of a process to do.
It's totally, and it's interesting, people, it's almost like a foregone conclusion, I think, for some customers. Oh, you have a website, it works, it functions. That's part of the reason why on the screen it says, just having a site is really good progress, because we have a lot of customers that are in that same mode that you are, making sure things are mobile optimized, spending a lot of time on that. So I think that's something a lot of people relate to. One thing to note about content marketing is you can localize it, you can personalize it, you can personalize the experience on site, but maybe not quite to the level that some of the outbound advertising that can take place with outbound advertising. So very interesting insights there. But let's talk just for a second about the outbound advertising, techniques, outbound lead generation, and then I want to drill into each one of these. But maybe just a quick overview, Chelsea.
Yeah, so with Outbound, the best lead gen programs, they use a mix of media like this to move someone through the lead gen process. I mentioned earlier, the lead generation isn't only about direct response. You can see 5 here of the most common lead gen media types, but please realize too that each of these reach a targeted audience at a different level of the funnel. Email, it might be like a longer strategy or even part of your nurture campaign, for instance, while search, paid social may actually be low funnel techniques. Display, like Robin said, more top funnel technique. The bottom line is, though, we need to ensure that these media channels have a more localized, personalized approach for your strategy.
Right. And so when you control that advertising message, especially with especially in digital, the levers that you can pull and adjust, have gotten to the point where they're so personalized, they're so localized, it just gives a lot of power to the marketer. Let's jump into that mid funnel or kind of top of funnel tactics you mentioned, display. So how do you think about display, Chelsea, and how do we talk to our clients about display?
Yeah, so display is just as important. With display, it's a mix between the mid funnel and the top of funnel. Businesses are using a targeted audience. They're scoring audiences to enhance traffic to site and to get potential prospects lower in the funnel. This is it's a top of mind awareness with selecting good audience targets, key demographics, and the use of relevant creative that is very visually appealing to your consumer. Keep in mind though, creative needs to be very consistent with your brand and to the specific audiences that you're targeting. A lot of my clients, when I talk to them, they're using the geo-targeting tactic as well to get in front of the right user, whether that's zip code targeting, DMA targeting, and then there's also geofencing.
Okay. And Robin, this is part of your mix. How do you think about display, where it fits, how you run it? What's your general sense on display?
We definitely use display. We've been testing over the past probably 2 years, working in this area, trying to understand what is the best approach for us. We tend to use display quite a bit for presenting our brand, top of the funnel brand awareness. And then some display when we're talking about specific degree programs like our Master's in Public Administration or international policy or international environmental policy. So we have a number of different degrees that are very specific. And our messaging in display is trying to be very relevant, a little bit tactical in terms of what people are looking for, and our imagery is very consistent with our brand.
Okay, and that's the kind of this idea of using a retail strategy almost, where you're literally scoring different audiences, scoring target markets, scoring even site visitors, trying to identify who the most valuable leads are going to be. The thing that's interesting about display is that sometimes you don't know, you only know if it's not working, right? Because since it's so high in the funnel, you're going to experience some of those effects of a poor display campaign, kind of down the road, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay. Well, let's talk a little bit lower in the funnel, and just dive in. I think it'd be a good idea to talk a little bit about the Middlebury paid social campaigns. We are working our way down the funnel. We're running some programs on Facebook and LinkedIn. I was wondering, Chelsea, if you could kind of take us through some of the high level, and then we'll get Robin's take on it as well.
Yeah, so this is a campaign Robin and I work closely through for Middlebury Institute. The goal of the campaign is to drive enrollment for Middlebury's international programs. We use both LinkedIn and Facebook platforms to get in front of a very targeted audience, and we also have broken out more of like a segmentation on the programs individually. We've used lead gen ads on social, where this is where the form populates on the newsfeed, and users can submit information without even leaving the platform, which is great. Middlebury and us here at SIBA, we've worked closely to integrate the leads for Middlebury too, so that a lot of those leads, they'll populate right through their Salesforce CRM, which is a big success for her sales team to be able to start outreach right away. And then we recently even looked at moving dollars, LinkedIn over to Facebook, just due to the cost per lead. So we're still kind of working on a strategy there, but that's the beauty of it, is just to continue testing things out and seeing what's working.
Okay. And Rob, what do you think about Facebook versus LinkedIn versus just how the campaigns are running? How are you kind of thinking about these?
Well, we're very happy to be testing LinkedIn. We have wanted to run a LinkedIn campaign for a long time and did not have the internal resources to learn how to go about doing that. So working with SIBA has been great in allowing us to test LinkedIn as a inquiry driving channel for us. It's been successful. We've definitely gotten quite a number of leads through the LinkedIn form, and now we're sort of waiting to see how those leads progress through our enrollment cycle. I think that we are looking even for more volume through this channel, and that's why now we're moving to testing Facebook. Facebook has been quite successful for us. The question is, how many leads can we get through Facebook? Are they qualified leads, and do they lead to application and enrollment?
Right. So it's interesting, that first conversion, and I know we're going to talk about this in a moment when we get into some of the aspects of nurturing a lead, but, you have to be able to score the lead even after you get that initial conversion. It sounds like that's what you're trying to determine with Facebook and LinkedIn. There's kind of a volume versus quality, question there. Am I listening to that correctly, Robin?
Yeah, there's a number of steps that the lead goes through, and one of the qualifying steps is, do they respond or talk to one of our enrollment advisors? And so there's a process of communication with them for about 30 days. If they don't engage with us, they move into sort of a maintenance campaign through our marketing automation tool. But if they do engage, then they speak with a counselor. The counselor advises them at the next step, and we try to move them through.
Okay, very good. That's really interesting, and it's interesting that we're also capturing that lead directly on on Facebook and LinkedIn. I know that's not what we always do. I think that there's some circumstances when we don't. Maybe, and I know, Chelsea, you've got another school where we've got a little bit different setup. Maybe you can walk us through a little bit separate setup on paid social in that scenario.
Yeah, so this is one of my clients' American Leadership Academy. The school's goal was, just like Middlebury, was to increase enrollment across all 13 charter schools in Arizona. How we did this was through paid social and adding a very custom local paid social campaign to drive both leads, but also site traffic. So the creative was built around a few different locations that needed the most support to fill their enrollments for the end of 2018, so this coming up fall. These key performance goals were, of course, the enrollment, but branding and awareness. So the campaign called for a full funnel approach here. We drove traffic to site while also improving their conversion rate on a schedule a tour lead form fill that was on their website URL.
Okay, so in this case, you were actually driving leads to the form on the site versus within paid social. What was the reasoning behind that?
Yeah, exactly. We tested out the lead gen ad. It wasn't as successful the first month or two. So we then generated a lot of the traffic to their form on site. Reason for this was there was a lot more heavy content related to the individual schools, some of the classes and experiences that these students would get. And so we felt that this was just an overall better strategy, and we've already seen success there.
So there was better personalization that could take place on the client site in this case than maybe through just a form that was on directly on paid social, directly on Facebook or LinkedIn.
Exactly, yeah, and I mean, we built out very specific ad copy too, so although that we were taking the user away from Facebook, they were still able to get enticed by the copy and the ad itself, and then we drove them to a place where they could read a lot more information and then move forward with that conversion.
Okay, interesting. So let's talk about the landing page design, because it sounds like, when it comes to personalization, when it comes to, you're taking somebody off the medium where they interacted with the ad. You're trying to place them on a website, and then you're trying to gain that conversion. So, and I know our customers talk a lot about landing pages. What are some of the best landing pages? Who does it right and why? Maybe you can give us just kind of the background on that, Chelsea.
Yeah, so the number one pointer would just be to keep it simple. You need to have a strong call to action, and you need to keep relevant content flowing throughout the page to keep those customers interested. There are always ways too to see how landing pages are performing on a campaign. With ALA, and I know with Middlebury, Robin, you do the same. It's always A/B testing different URLs to see the conversion rates, see where people are bouncing off. Google Analytics is a great way to understand the health of your brand and the landing page itself and what's working. Also, another recommendation I always throw out is a unique or dynamic promo code that's designed just for your lead gen campaign. Now, this is a great way to, one, track ROI, but also the conversion rate, while you're also having your leads assigned to a particular campaign or even URL. Metrics like bounce rate, pages viewed, or even, simple pages abandoned, which you'll see we have access to abandonment data. All of this is useful to understand your customer's full journey.
Okay, and I know that the audio might have cut out just a little bit there. So really, when it comes to landing pages, keep it simple. Make sure that your value proposition resonates. I think a lot of clients, they try to get too tricky with different colors or different images or hero images, and they forget that it's really about the features or benefits about what you're trying to put forth for that prospective customer for the brand, right?
Exactly. You don't want to clutter the site. You need to keep it simple, but then also have enticing content that's going to create some urgency for that client to convert.
Okay. Now, Robin, I wanted to ask you. You were mentioning the website rebuild and all the things you guys are doing for content. Are you trying to do the same things with landing pages? Is it something you want to do? How do you guys approach landing pages?
I would say landing pages are aspirational for us at this point in time. We sort of have to get our ducks in a row with our current website. And it's pretty resource intensive to test and create landing pages at this point. And so we're trying to figure out how to best approach that.
Okay. And that's totally fair. I mean, that's something we hear very commonly as well. You know, in an ideal world, you could create different microsites and totally personalize information, you know, and have 100 different landing pages. Reality is it's not always possible to do that. So we do hear that pretty often. Some of the technology we actually use to help our customers understand their abandonment rates can actually assist here. I think on the page you've got a screenshot of some of our abandonment tracking, identifying where people are bouncing from, et cetera. And that's actually helped, I think, a lot of clients that are a little bit strapped with some of the time, just generating and reporting and setting up Google Analytics, like Chelsea mentions, to track everything they'd like to. So, okay, let's talk about nurture. So we get the conversion, you get that lead, they're in progress. Then what, right? Chelsea, how do you think about nurture? What is that?
So lead nurturing is a marketing term to really build relationships with potential customers. So personalization matters more than ever at this stage, and your outreach during the nurture stage needs to add value at every touch point. From my experience, the best brands don't make this feel like another sales call, put it that way. I think the best brands are deliberate in how they build their ongoing strategy. They're constantly taking advantage of the leads that come through and really showing that personalized touch.
Okay, great. Robin, you were talking a little bit about some of the things you guys do in the nurture stage. How much time do you spend thinking about, once somebody's in that active recruitment stage? Do you guys spend a lot of time building that out? Can you just maybe go walk through that for the people on the call?
Sure. We use a marketing automation tool called Pardot, and it integrates with Salesforce. So we spend a lot of upfront time building those nurturing campaigns, which are basically a series of emails with very specific messages to the program that the prospective student inquired about. And they get a series of emails over the course of a period of time. And then if they don't engage with us, they move into what we call a cold campaign, where we continue to talk with them via email, communicate out with them in hopes of trying to engage with them. So we definitely spend a lot of time building those campaigns. Once they're running, we're mostly monitoring them.
Got it. Okay, so a lot of upfront time, but then once those things are in motion and moving, they're more automated.
Right.
Okay, good. Okay, good. Well, let's I think we've worked our way through the entire funnel now, all the way through nurture. At this point, I wanted to just maybe open up to questions. I know we could spend an hour just on one little tiny segment of any of these topics, but hopefully that gives everybody a little bit of an overview. At this point, if anybody has any questions, go ahead and open them into the or add them to the GoToWebinar within your screen, and we'll answer them. So we'll just give a few minutes here for questions, and we'll wait, see what comes through. Okay, we've got one question, and it's back to you, Rob, and I think it's more about this nurture stuff. Here's the question. How as a school are you scoring the actual enrolled student? So you've got the lead. How do you score that student, or how are you tracking that student to enrollment, I guess is the question.
Well, okay, sort of two answers, I guess. How we're tracking them is in Salesforce, we have different stages, and the enrollment counselor actually tags a student in Salesforce as to what stage they're at. So one of the stages is scheduled an appointment, and then another stage is kept the appointment. So we actually can see a prospective student moving through all the steps of engagement in Salesforce, all the way to starting an application, completing an application and completing an application. So we can kind of see that in using reporting out of Salesforce. When it comes to actual scoring, you know, we really aspire to do lead scoring. Pardot does have the capability to do that, and it comes out of the box with a scoring model or methodology. You know, if we have on our list of things to do, and we really do have a list of things to do to work and update Pardot based on some lead scoring criteria that is unique to us, but we haven't had a chance to do that. So now I actually look more specifically at our lead sources, and I think about or I analyze the cost per lead, the cost per application, and the cost per enrollment. So I do a little bit of back of the envelope scoring based on how much did it cost us to get the lead or the applicant from that source.
Okay, and I think that that's so important because, you know, so often, you know, we talked earlier about this wall between marketing and sales. So often, there's nothing closing the loop, right, to check back on how the media is performing to what the ultimate goal is, in your case, you know, getting somebody on campus. So I think that's really an interesting take on that. So. Okay, that's all of our time that we have today. So thank you, Robin. Thank you, Chelsea. As always, you can follow us on paid social or on social media at Cyba Inc. If you have any questions or you'd like to follow up with us, you can also email marketing@cyba.com. So Robin, thank you for your time. Really appreciate it. And until next time.
Thanks, Robin.
Thank you. Bye-bye.